Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu salam ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's On Disciplining the Soul, Kitab Riyadat al-Nafs. And the subtitle is An Exposition of the True Nature of Good and Bad Character. بيان حقيقة حسن الخلق وسوء الخلق. We are on page 15 of the translation. This is, of course, T.J. Winter, Abdul Hakim Murad, Timothy Winter's translation. An exposition of the true nature of good and bad character. Know that people have discoursed upon the true nature of good character and upon what constitutes, but have in fact treated only the fruit which it bears, not its reality. They have not even grasped the entirety of its fruit, of which everyone has mentioned that which occurred to him and came to his mind. Never have directed their attention towards providing a definition for it, or a discussion of its nature, which takes all of its fruits into account in a detailed and comprehensive fashion. There is, for example, the saying of Al-Hasan, and we have said this before. If Imam Al-Ghazali says Al-Hasan just plain, without any qualification, it's Al-Hasan al-Basri, wallah subhanahu wa ta'ala alam. So Al-Hasan said that good character is a cheerful face, magnanimity, and doing no harm. حسن الخلق بسط الوجه وبذل الندى وكف الأذى. Magnanimity, بذل الندى is really generosity, and being a cheerful face, a smile. Remember that. تبسمك في وجه أخيك صدقة. A smile in the face of your brother when you meet is an act of charity. And the least that like in medicine, no harm. If one cannot do something good, at least one should not cause harm to oneself and to others, of course. And Al-Wasiti has said, it is that one should not argue with anyone or be argued with by anyone because of one's firm knowledge of God subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does it mean? I think we can go beyond argument. لا يخاصم ولا يخاصم. Al-khusuma, there is antagonism, there is animosity, there is adversity. Okay, so it's not simply any argument. Why one would not be part of such a negative encounter or relationship? Your knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning also your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, prevents you from being party to something like this. It doesn't mean that you don't say the truth. The greatest form of jihad, usually it's people would say إن أعظم الجهاد كلمة حق عند سلطان جائر. The correct or more correct or the correct text is a word of truth, a word of justice. كلمة عدل عند سلطان جائر والله سبحانه وتعالى أعلم. Shah al-Kirmani said, it is to do no harm and to endure harm instead. So if someone causes you harm, if it's a personal thing, you would tolerate, you'll absorb that form of that kind of harm. Someone said it is that one should be friendly to people but remain a stranger in their midst. This is being friendly, of course, being a stranger, being a stranger, I think this ought to be uh, it would reflect the level of knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowledge of where one is, his or her maqam, uh, and the will not to participate, engage in either silly things or even worse than that. And being a stranger, simply not being part of the the company, if that company entails either doing some harm, or at least not really engaging in something good. It should not be the case. Abu Uthman said it is to be content, rida, with the will of God. That's husn al-khuluq. So you don't complain. If somebody says to you, how are you? In fact, this is really something. For Imam Al-Ghazali, it's something very deep. It cannot be the casual, how are you? Imam Al-Ghazali says that if you really don't care about the other person whom you ask about uh, his health, his a general question, no details. If you don't care about that person, you say, how are you? Then you have lied to him. And that's a serious problem. But say that somebody does say, how are you? And what would be your response? You don't give them a report about your health and all the physicians that you have visited and the medicines that you are taking and the ailments that you are suffering from. A simple alhamdulillah with a genuine alhamdulillah is the appropriate answer. When Sahl al-Tustari was asked about good character, he replied, its least degree is tolerance, seeking no reward, compassion, and pity for the wrongdoer, and asking God's pardon for him. The wrongdoer, the zalim, of course, wrongdoer, zalim is the wrongdoer, but a specific wrongdoer, here the unjust, the unjust. And in general, how do we deal with the wrongdoers? I love the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A companion who drank wine was brought before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam time and again. And remember that people were just in the pre-Islamic Arabia, they used to drink, so they gave up this bad habit, and it seems that some people were hooked, addicted in a way that they could not resist, and that's not an excuse. The hadith is not about that. The hadith is about the reaction of one companion. There are two different versions of the hadith. The reaction of another companion who cursed the wine drinker. At that moment, the Prophet ﷺ prohibited him, reprimanded him. They reprimanded the companion who cursed the wine drinker. And the Prophet ﷺ said something extremely beautiful. He said, إِنَّهُ يُحِبُّ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. So this person who is drunk, he loves God and he loves his messenger. And anyone who has been who's suffering from addiction, whatever behavior, that person needs our compassion, our understanding. This is not compassion does not mean that we approve or we if it comes from a position of empathy and compassion, maybe he will accept to enroll in a treatment program, but they need all the help that they can. Not everyone is fortunate to be raised, and even some of those people who they could be raised in good families, they could be bad bad companionship, and don't you ever underestimate the impact of especially teenagers. There is peer pressure, and that could be destructive. So compassion for and pity for the wrongdoer, and also, of course, as a society, we should support governmental and non-governmental institutions that help those people. And he once said, Sahel, he said, "It is that you do not direct accusations at your Lord concerning your sustenance, and that you trust in Him, being confident that He, subhanahu wa ta'ala, shall provide that which He has guaranteed you. It is that you obey Him and do not transgress against Him in any of your affairs, both in that which is between you and Him, and that which takes place between you and mankind." And the next is from Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib radhiallahu anhu. And also we say, Karramallahu wajha, may God ennoble his face. He said, good character consists in three traits: avoiding that which is forbidden, seeking that which is permitted, and being generous to one's family. Al-Hussein ibn Mansur, that's Al-Hallaj, he said, it is that you should be unaffected by the harshness of mankind after having beheld the truth in the beheld after you have بعد مطالعتك للحق سبحانه وتعالى. It means that after you have enjoyed that, you have been blessed, you have been granted, you have been drawn near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you should not basically complain at all. I mean, it should not affect you what's going on. Yes. Abu Sa'id al-Kharraz said, it is that you should have no concern but for God. And I think the transliteration of concern, it's not, there should be no mention of the, because here it says himma, and it's not really himma, it's ham. So wrong transliteration. There are many statements of this nature, but they all treat the fruit of good character, not its essence. Neither do they succeed even in encompassing all of these fruits, since to unveil its true nature is more important than to cite various sayings on the matter. We shall proceed with our discourse as follows. Creation, khalq, and character, khuluq. We have mentioned this before, that they have identical form, it's the same root, they only differ in the short vowels. So creation and character are two expressions which may be used together. We say, for example, that so and so is good in his creation and in his character. Remember the dua, Allahumma kama hassanta khalqi fahassan khuluqi. Oh, my Lord, in as much as you have beautified, fashioned my creation in the best possible form, حسنت from حسن, from beauty. فحسن خلقي, beautify my character, lead me to the path, to do the good, grant me, inculcate in me the beautiful traits. Effectively, when Aisha radiallahu anha was asked about the character of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she said, كان خلق القرآن, أو كما قالت, that his character was the Quran, meaning an embodiment of the Quran, of all the good traits. And this is why we have moved from perfection of character, whereby we talk about al-insan al-salih, a good person, to simply talking about a good citizen. There is an overlapping, it's like a Venn diagram, but not a good citizen sometimes might accept that which is wrong. A member of the parliament that votes in favor of same-sex marriage, one might say that he or she is in line with the constitution or the high court decision or what have you. That's good citizenship. A municipality clerk who was in the United States, she refused to register the marriage of a gay couple. She landed in jail. So we say, for example, that so-and-so is good in his creation and his character, meaning that both his outward and inward aspects are good. Creation refers to the external and character to the internal form. Now man is composed of a body which perceives the ocular vision, basar, and a spirit, ruh, and the soul, nafs, which perceives the inner sight, the basira. Inner sight, insight. Each of these things has an aspect and a form which is either ugly or beautiful. Furthermore, the soul, which perceives with inner sight, is of greater worth than the body, which sees with ocular vision, which is why God has stressed its importance by ascribing to himself in his statement in the verse, I shall create a man from clay, and when I have fashioned him and have breathed into him something of my spirit, then fall ye down before him in prostration. إني خالق بشرا من طين فإذا سويته ونفخت فيه من روحي فقعوا له ساجدين. Of course, Satan refused to prostrate, and he mentioned that he would not have prostrated to someone who was created from clay and he was created from fire, and that would constitute the first racist position in existence immediately. Envy, but also considering not heeding, not disobeying God. Really, this is something, and it's an amazing thing how people are called to prostrate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And prostration is mentioned in the Torah, in the Old Testament, and many times you will when the narrative says when these verses say, and he fell on his face, and he fell on his face. That's a prostration. It's not falling as like running and just simply tripping. No, and he fell on his face. That's a prostration to thank God. In this text, he states that the body is ascribed to clay, but that the spirit is ascribed to the Lord of the worlds. Spirit and soul in this context referring to the self same thing. والمراد بالروح والنفس في هذا المقام واحد. A trait of character then is a firmly established condition, haya, of the soul, from which actions proceed easily without any need for thinking or forethought. If this condition is disposed towards the production of beautiful and praiseworthy deeds, these are acknowledged by the law, shara, and the intellect, it is termed a good character trait. If, however, ugly acts proceed from it, the condition is known as a bad character trait, that is. We describe this condition as firmly established from رسوخ راسخة, because the character of a man who gives some of his wealth rarely and under transient circumstances cannot be described as generous, since this attribute has to become firmly established and fixed in his soul. Such acts must proceed from a man easily and without thinking, since the man who, with forethought and an effort, makes a show of generosity or remaining silent when angry is not to be called generous or mild of character. Four things are thus involved. Firstly, there is the doing of something beautiful or ugly. Secondly, the ability to act. Thirdly, cognition of the act. And fourthly, a condition of the soul by which it inclines to one side or the other, and which renders the beautiful or the ugly thing easy to do. Therefore, character is not the same as action. There are many people of generous character who do not make donations from their wealth, either because they have none or by reason of some other obstacle, just as there are people whose character is avaricious but who distribute their wealth for some motive or other, or out of ostentation and in interests of their reputation, or simply they give if they donate a silver coin because they see a gold coin coming as a result of that. Now there's the like it came to my knowledge that the Muslim Sultan, one of the Muslim sultans in Southeast Asia, accepts money gifts for his birthday. And people might expect to be honored with honorific titles thereafter or whatever. And that should not be the case. That's a shame. You are the sultan and you accept money gifts from people. That's at the same time, one of the sultans brandished a $1.5 million watch at any rate. Neither is the same as ability, since this does not differ whether it is ascribed to withholding or giving, or to the two opposite traits. Every man has been created to be, by disposition, by fitra, capable of withholding and giving. Yet this does not necessarily bring about an avaricious or a generous character, nor yet is it the same as one's cognition of the act, for cognition pertains to the beautiful and the ugly in the same way. Instead, it is to be identified with the fourth sense, namely the condition through which the soul prepares itself for the issuing of giving or withholding. Character, therefore, is a term for the condition and an inner aspect of the soul. Inshallah, we'll continue reading from Bayan حقيقة حسن الخلق وسوء الخلق in the next session, inshallah. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.